So good morning, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. So this will be the last part of Chapter 6, Freedom and Equality. So this will be the transitioning process. So if you would ask what is transitioning process, so it is a process that refers to the journey that a transgender or non-binary individual may undertake to align their appearance, identity, and legal status with their gender identity that they want. So this process may involve social transitioning such as changing one's name and pronouns and altering clothing and appearance to align with one's gender identity that they want. So when a person realizes that he or she may be transgender, a psychologist can guide that person through the transition, especially when a person wants to go through permanent change like sex reassignment surgery. So when an individual begins to realize that they may be transgender, a psychologist can play a vital role in guiding them through this journey. So the psychologists provide a safe, supportive, and non-judgmental space for the individual to explore their feelings, thoughts, and experience related to their gender identity. So as individuals navigate their process or this process, the psychologist can offer emotional support, helping them to cope with any stress, anxiety, or uncertainty that may arise during this process. So there are transgender people who cannot have or do not want to have hormonal replacement therapy or sex reassignment surgery because of personal, economic, or cultural reasons. So not all transgender individuals pursue hormone replacement therapy or sex reassignment surgery, and this decision can be influenced by a range of factors. Some replacement may choose not to undergo this medical intervention due to the personal preferences, health concerns, or a desire to align their transitions with their own unique identity. So economic factors can also play a role as HRT, or what we call the hormone replacement therapy, and the sex reassignment surgery, or what we call the SRS, that can be costly, and not everyone has access to affordable healthcare or insurance coverage. So in addition with that, cultural reason may influence this decision, with one individual coming from communities that they not support or accept medical interventions for transgender people. So regardless of those reasons, it is essential to provide support and acceptance to all transgender individuals, respecting their choices and identities. So by doing that, we can create a more inclusive environment that acknowledges values and values to the diversity of transgender experiences. This support can take many forms, including respect their preferred name and pronouns, offering emotional support, and proving and providing access to resources that cater to their specific needs and preferences. So every individual's journey is unique, and it's crucial to prioritize their well-being, dignity, and self-determination. So it is very important that we should respect each and every one of us, regardless of what gender they possess or what gender they want to have. Transitioning to another gender is a very challenging process for many transgender people because of the social stigma, discrimination when it comes to there are a lot of people who discriminate other genders, like they will have a transition in it. Then medical cost, it will cost a high if you would undergo a transitioning process or you will undergo a surgery. Accessibility of medical treatment and support. So since there are other countries or many countries who do not, or they are less accessible to those people that they want to have a medical surgery to have a gender reassignment. So another factors that they should include is the oppressive law in each country and the threat of violence from prejudiced people, since there are countries that they don't want nga their people will be like they will undergo a transition process, since they believe that men and women are the only gender in the world. So some countries allow for transgender people to change their legal gender from male to female or female to male. So this recognition is a product of decades of collective effort of the transgender community and the LGBTQ plus community. So many countries allow transgender individuals nga ma-change their legal gender. But the process and requirement it varies widely. So some countries with simple administrative process, they have the Malta, Portugal, and Canada, in which in Malta, there is a 16 years old can apply for legal gender identity or ID that would change with parental consent, and the country offers strong worker protection and constitutional protection also. In Portugal, 18 years old above can get a legal gender ID change with no requirement, while 16 years old needs a psychological evaluation and parental consent. In Canada, they can get a gender ID or identity change is legal without surgery, and the country offers worker protection and constitutional protections also. So there are also countries with specific requirement, like in Sweden, they allow transgender people to legally change their sex, but requirements have been criticized as brutal in the past. So new legislation is the progress to make change easier. So there are also another countries like the Denmark. It requires a 6 months reflection period before changing your gender identity. While in United Kingdom, it allows that countries allow change of legal gender without surgery, but requires a diagnosis of gender um, dysphoria. So countries with progressive law, we have the Greece, Spain, and Ireland. So in Greece, it allowed change of gender identity without surgery with worker protection and broad protection. While in Spain, it recognizes both transgender and non-binary people without surgery with worker protections also and a broad protection for everyone. In Ireland, 16 years old can change their legal gender with a court order, and the country offers worker protection as well as a broad protection for them also. There are countries around Europe also that they believe in transitioning process. So they have those countries are the Bolivia, Peru, India, Pakistan, South Africa. Yes, that's South Africa. So in Bolivia, they offers worker protection and constitutional protection with low rate of trans murder. So kumbaga, even they have been in a transition process or they have a surgery, but that's okay for them since they have a low rate of transgender murders. So in Peru, it allows change of gender identity without surgery but requires a court appearance. They just don't go in surgery, but they should have a legal, in court appearance. So India, they recognizes transgender individual as a third gender and provides protection against discrimination. So in India, a transgender people, it is considered as a third gender since there are only two genders in the world, the male and the female. In Pakistan, they allows transgender people to identify themselves as such as provides anti-discrimination law. So in Pakistan, it is, a fair treatment for everyone that you can choose if you want to be or you would have a transgender process like from male to female or female to male. Lastly, in South Africa, so a constitutional forbids discrimination based on sex, gender, and sexual orientation, and allow transgender individuals to change their legal gender. Amaragya po to siya, like same with other countries that uh, they forbids discrimination based on sex, gender, and sexual orientation, and that allows those transgender individuals to change their legal gender status. So Philippines still lack the law and the medical capacity to support transgender people in living their full potential. So the proper use of pronouns he or she should be observed when talking to a transgender person to show respect as the decent human being. So the Philippines still has significant work to do in supporting its transgender community, particularly in terms of legislation and healthcare. So while there's growing acceptance, more progress is needed to ensure acceptance to transgender individuals since they have access to resources or they should have access to resources and support. So using respectful language including proper pronouns of using the he or she is crucial, showing respect and dignity. So by treating transgender individuals with kindness, understanding, and respect, we can help create a more inclusive environment for individuals or each one of us, including those transgender peoples. Recognizing their inherent worth and dignity as human being is essential in promoting a more accepting and supportive society. So we should always put in our mind that we should use the pronoun he or she in a rightful way because there are a lot of people that they don't want to be called as a he or she because since they have been in a uh, transitioning process or kumbaga nakaagi na sila surgery or even those people nga wala nakaagi og surgery but they prefer since in their true identity they are a male but they want to be called as a she, they want to be addressed as a she, so we should respect their preferences, so we should ask them like how may I address you so that there will be no problem in terms of that. Often, when a person is clearly presenting herself as a female, by the way, they dress and carry themselves, it is safe to assume that they want to use she and her. So the same goes for the transgender man who is clearly presenting himself as a man, you may use him or his. So when interacting with someone, it's generally best to use the pronoun that align with their presentation and identity. So if someone presents themselves in a way that suggests a particular gender, it's often safe to use the pronoun associated with that gender. However, it's always best to ask someone their preferred pronoun if you're unsure, as this shows respect for their identity and helps avoid misunderstanding. So using someone's preferred pronoun is a simple way to show respect and kindness. So amo ta kun giingon nga it is very important nga we should ask that certain person nga ato nakasalamuha to ask if how we will address that certain person. If we could ask that person if we will use the word he or she for to avoid a misunderstanding in terms of the pronoun that we use. And also it will show a respect for each and everyone. However, it is always a good practice to ask them for their preferred pronoun instead of assuming, but to do so in a polite way. Asking for someone preferred pronoun in a polite way shows respect and consideration for their identity. As what I've said in the past slide, you have to ask that certain person how we will address them. So a simple and friendly approach can be like, hi, you have to state your name, like I'm Danica, what are your preferred pronouns? Or may I ask what your uh, or may I ask nga, or I will say nga, may I ask what pronouns you prefer? So that certain approach can help create a welcoming and inclusive environment and ensure that you are using the language that makes the person feel most comfortable and respected. So mauto, we have to always put in our mind nga we have to respect everyone no matter what gender he or she possess. And we will always ask first if asa siya mas comfortable na i-address. Like, there are a lot of people ang good nga their gender identity is male or their sex is male, but they prefer to be called as a she since they undergo a surgery, or even if that certain person didn't undergo a surgery but na-feel niya sa yourself nga she want or he want to be called as a she. So that's it. We have to consider each one individual's preferences because in that way, it shows respect for everyone. And that makes them feel comfortable and they are respected also. So that's it. That's the last part of the chapter 6, which is the transitioning process. Thank you.